So Iceland is a dream destination for a lot of us as photographers and video creators. And I'm gonna talk to you about everything that I've learned. I think I've done about 50 trips here total. I'm gonna talk through everything that I've learned in my time here and how to really make your first trip here the best, or even if this is a second or third trip, hopefully there are some new ideas in here that you might not have come across organically. I want to say thank you so much to PGYTech for sponsoring this video. You're gonna be seeing this backpack on the screen and we're gonna talk about it a little bit later. Let's begin. So I live in Canada, so my flight to Iceland is from Toronto, and you get to, if you're coming from North America, if you're coming from Europe, you don't get to do this so much. I guess it may be a little bit, but if you're coming from somewhere in North America, I recommend that you do the posh. So the definition of posh is port out, which is you're sitting on the port side as you go out, and starboard home. And that means you're sitting on the right side. So it's an overnight flight, I think, for all cases coming from North America. All the flights land super early in the morning. But the reason you want to be on the left is because you can see the northern lights. So the goal is to sleep. My goal is I sit down on the airplane, and as soon as I'm on that plane, from Toronto, I think it's 4 hours, maybe gate to gate, and you land at 6 in the morning. So it's an overnight red-eye flight that you land, and then you have a full day ahead of you. So I do my best to take off 9 p.m. By 9:30, I'm sleeping. But if I do wake up and I look out the window, I want to be able to see the northern lights. And if you're sitting on the left side of the plane, you're going to be able to do that. And then for the flight home, at least the Toronto flight leaves, I think a lot of East Coast flights leave around 5 p.m. And if you're on the right side of the plane, you're able to see Greenland, which is really, really cool. Depending on the time of the year, it's going to look completely different. And it is one of my favorite parts of coming home. And I'm always glued to my window with a camera like this. Now, let's talk about gear. You're going to experience some questionable conditions out here. Maybe it's gonna be horizontal rain. Maybe it's gonna be a beautiful, beautiful day. You never really know until you're on location. I'd recommend bringing a very sturdy tripod if you do wanna have the option for northern lights or any sort of waterfall photography that you want some slower shutter speeds. For lenses, a 24-70 is gonna get you through most of the day. I would say having a longer lens is also really helpful. So it doesn't have to be a 70-200 f2.8, but have something that's a little bit longer, especially if you're into bird photography or you just want to get bigger landscapes. I find that if I only brought a 70-200 on a trip like this, I would probably be pretty happy for most of the day. I feel like it also forces me out of my comfort zone of just that 35 all day. But big landscapes, big lens, I think. For the rest of the day, 24-70, I'm pretty happy with. Or if you are a prime shooter, I would say maybe a 24 and 35, you'll be pretty happy with. For wide angle shots, there are a few wide angle locations. This mountain here, Kirkjufell, you're probably gonna walk up to this and you're gonna be like, oh, that's it? That's what it looks like, because everyone shoots this scene with such a wide angle lens that the waterfalls in the front look really big and majestic, and when you get there, they're actually kind of not that big. You need a wider lens for that shot, but typically I would say that I don't really find myself going much wider than 24 when I am out here, or if I do, I kind of regret it because I get too much foreground, there's just too much going on in the scene, and if I can simplify things at 35 millimeters or at 70-200 and I can really pick my subject, I feel like it just makes better photos overall. If you are going to be trekking behind waterfalls, bring a way to weatherproof your camera a little bit more, whether that is one of those bags that go over your camera, or if you're just comfortable with the weather sealing of it, that's totally fine too. But conditions out here are a little variable from time to time. And some other filters that are nice to have, I would say ND filters. So if you do want to get those slow shutter speeds to get waterfalls and you don't want to be cranking to f32, I would say bring some ND filters for whatever lens you think you're going to use the most. I would say probably a 24-70, an ND filter for that, maybe a variable ND. I typically, if I do know that I'm only going to be using an ND for waterfalls, I'll just bring a 10-stop fixed ND, so not a variable one, and I'm usually pretty happy with that. And then if you are someone that's going to be using a polarization filter for water, or you're comfortable with using them, a CPL filter is also very, very helpful out here. So these are, again, are my tips and things that we enjoy doing, and maybe if you do follow the channel, some things you probably have seen. We also do this whenever we do workshops, so we do wedding photography workshops here as well. And typically everything I'm going to talk about here is on one of those tours. So we do one tour that's the south in Snæfellsnes, which is kind of the west side, maybe about an hour and a half from Reykjavik. But we've also done the full ring road. But if it is your first time here, I would say that you have to have a decent amount of time in order to do the ring road, maybe even up to 2 weeks. So if you have 2 weeks, I think that's awesome. If you have, I think we've done it in 6 or 7 days before, and it's fun and it's beautiful. But if I only had 6 or 7 days, I would probably be spending them on the locations that I'm going to talk to you about today. So you land at the airport, you rent a car. There's a lot of different car rental agencies. Sixt is typically the cheapest. Avis also will guarantee that you get this nice Defender, which is really nice. I think Geyser does as well. My recommendation for airport arrival is to rent something that's actually at the airport rather than something that you're gonna have to shuttle offsite, either to the city of Keflavik or into actually Reykjavik to pick up your car. It's a lot easier if the car is on site. Avis, who I personally usually rent through, they have everything on site. So you check in within the airport, you walk outside in the parking lot, you grab your car, and then you are off and on your way into Iceland, usually within within maybe 20 minutes of leaving the baggage claim doors. Another thing, as you're arriving, if you do want to buy any beer or wine, the duty free on arrival is the most inexpensive place to do that. You will know if you've done any research that Iceland, a beer is probably, you're going to be spending somewhere from 12 to 20 euro or 12 to $20 US for a beer at a restaurant. And also for entree prices at restaurants, it wouldn't be uncommon to see a burger for $35 to $40 or a somewhat decent steak somewhere around like 80 to 90. And this isn't at high-end establishments. If you want a soup from the gas station, you're probably also gonna spend $20 to $25 on that soup. So the more you can get from the grocery store and the more you can get from duty-free on arrival is going to set your trip up for a little less of a financial burden. So now you're leaving the airport, you're in your car, where are you headed? I suggest, so this might go against other advice, but I suggest avoiding Reykjavik pretty much entirely. If you're there for the city experience, awesome. You can do that, maybe hang out for a day to go to some cafes, go see the church. Other than that, the thing that I like doing in Iceland the most is what we're doing out here. We've rented an Airbnb in the middle of nowhere. And because it's in the middle of nowhere, it's really, really cost effective. And if you are arriving on one of those 6 a.m. flights and your Airbnb is maybe a 2-hour drive from the airport, if it is possible to rent that Airbnb the night before, it is a beautiful thing to land, especially if you don't get sleep or there's a kid kicking your chair on the flight. When you arrive in Iceland, if you can just drive to that Airbnb and the people know that you're showing up early in the morning rather than the night before, and you arrive and you can have a nap in the middle of the day, I think that that is amazing. Or you could also just sleep in your car, I guess, if you need it. A lot of the time, I think that if I get that 4 hours of sleep, everything is new and exciting here, that I am okay to stay awake for the first day. And you absolutely do crash at like 8 o'clock at night, but that's part of the fun. So don't pack too much into the first day, but pack a little bit because you're going to be excited to see some stuff. Now I'm going to walk you through a few of my usual routes and what I would usually do here. This doesn't have to go in the exact order. You can mix and match this. These are just suggestions. And if you found other stuff that you've seen on Instagram that you want to visit, by all means. I would say typically for us, as well as a lot of other tourists I know, the furthest south you go is typically down to Glacier Lagoon. So you can go beyond that. There are some beautiful locations out on the East Coast. I would say that most people make it as far as Glacier Lagoon. There's an amazing new hotel just 8 or 9 minutes on the other side of Glacier Lagoon that I would absolutely be recommending right now. So that is a hotel that I would recommend, and it is entirely possible if you're feeling very ambitious. I know it might sound insane, so it's about a 5.5 hour drive from Keflavik Airport where you're going to land all the way out to Glacier Lagoon. And if you land at 6 a.m., it is kind of a reasonable drive to get out there. So it's a big drive. So you're gonna see some stuff on the way and you're gonna be like, I wanna stop at all this stuff, but know that you're gonna come back down that same route. So making a note of the places that you do wanna stop or having them on a notepad and knowing that like, hey, that is depending on weather. So maybe the day you arrive, the weather is gonna be amazing. And then it's calling for horizontal hail the next day. If that is the case, maybe make more of those stops on the first day, knowing that the second day is a little bit more questionable. But I'm happy to do that big 5 hour drive. You just land and you just get excited and you just drive all the way there. And then you know the next day is going to be a little more open where you're going to be stopping a little bit more. Depending on if you went with the hotel route or you're going for an Airbnb in the middle of nowhere that maybe you rented that Airbnb the night before. So that opens up the option to have that midday nap if you're feeling it, especially if you're traveling with your family, it might be a requirement. But if it's just myself and somebody else that's there for photography and video, I feel like we're pretty happy to just push through and make that first day really, really strong. Now you might be wondering, what backpack did I bring to Iceland? And it is the PGYTech One Go 2 backpack. It is the second iteration of the One Go backpack. And the first thing, there's a lot to love about it, but the first thing I loved immediately was that all 3 color choices are incredible. I would be happy to have any of them, and that is a very rare thing for me to say about backpack colors. I find a lot of them to be crazy. I love the green. Green was my first choice, but the other 2 choices are just as good. And the company has introduced a few different, today and also a few weeks ago, a few different backpacks. So depending on your needs, this is the one that fit my needs specifically for this trip. So this is what I went with, and I'm gonna show you around in it. First up, I really love the functionality of this. So you wanna open this front flap. How do you do that? You just touch this button down here. It just flips up nice and easy. It's magnetic, so it locks. So right now I can't move it. So if the wind or rain or something's coming out your bag, you don't have to worry about it. We've also been doing some pretty big hikes in questionable weather conditions out here, and the breathable design of the back is really, really nice. And also the backpack is incredibly light. They have given me the data that it weighs 3 regular water bottles in weight, but overall, empty. It weighs nothing, and as soon as I put all my camera stuff in it, it's obviously quite heavy, but it still feels comfortable on the shoulder straps. There's a few more interesting developments that I've seen on this backpack that I haven't seen anywhere else. Number one is this battery indication system you see over here, and there's different slots for your batteries, and you get these little magnets here. So there's a red side and a green side, and depending on if the battery is fully charged or depleted, you put the red for depleted, or green for fully charged. Really, really nice system for battery management. Inside the backpack, everything feels really, really solid. I've had my long telephoto lens in this compartment here that has the straps to hold it in, as well as some smaller lenses down here. And then I've kind of left the top open here for my larger lens that I'm currently using. So it's very easy on a hike just to open this and grab whatever you want. But if you do have a camera set up so the body is right here and you want to just pull it out, it's very easy to do that right here. It does come with a lot of dividers, and you can set this up however you want, so you don't have to buy a camera cube or something else to go inside of it. It comes with all the parts you'll need. Overall, a very high quality feeling backpack, and I feel like I put it through a lot, and it still looks completely brand new. But overall, the only thing that I've had a real impact on is the inside. It comes beautifully set up, and I immediately ruined it. I made it look a lot less good, but more functional for my specific case. That's all for here. Let's go back to talking about Iceland. So Glacier Lagoon is cool, I would say, in terms of the times of year that I've seen it the best. Maybe even to speak of times of year in general here for Iceland. I actually really like the shoulder seasons the best. So April or maybe September, October. I like those the best because you get an option that there potentially could be northern lights, but then also the days are long enough that if you come in November, December, then it's the shortest days of the year. You're maybe getting 4 hours of sunlight in the southern coast here, and the sun kind of just like peaks above the horizon and just goes like this and down. And in the winter, I guess the benefit is that you do get that huge opportunity and that big nighttime to see northern lights. In my experience, northern lights are so hit or miss that it's very challenging to plan your entire trip around them. If you were able to plan last minute trips and you're sitting and you're looking at, it's like, oh, there's a big solar storm coming in on Monday and it's Saturday night and you're able to make that happen. That's an amazing thing that you're able to do. But if you are a little bit more tied to a schedule and you're booking this months in advance, know that it is, if you're here for 7 days, it's pretty likely you're gonna see northern lights one of the nights, but don't plan everything around it because the weather comes in and the weather moves fast and unpredictably here. And even if they are calling for a beautiful sunny day, there is a pretty good chance that it might not end up being that sunny day. Or it happens to not be that sunny day exactly where you are within Iceland. The weather here is so pocketed that if you're at Blue Lagoon, you might be in some misty weather, but then it might be beautiful and sunny an hour away where we are out here. And because of those cloud opportunities, I don't suggest planning your entire trip around northern lights. So I would say an option like April or maybe March or September, October would be better. You also stay out of the summer as well. Summer is really busy here, so things just get more expensive. Hotels are harder to find, Airbnbs are harder to find, and rental cars get more expensive. Now moving back, so you've kind of gone the furthest that you're gonna go in the south. Moving back, I would say to spend a night around Vik. So it's not Reykjavik, it's Vik. It's its own thing. I think Reykjavik means smoky harbor, smoky port. Vik just means port. Vik is one of my favorite cities to stay in. Anywhere around there is great. Even if you're staying in the city, there's some good options, and it's nice to be in the city for maybe one of the nights. If you do stay in Vik or in the nearby area, you're very close to Black Sand Beach, which is a great location for sunrise specifically. If you're gonna go to any of the tourist spots in the middle of the day, there's gonna be a ton of buses there. But if you go for sunrise, they're gonna be pretty much vacant. It's gonna be you and maybe 5 other photographers with tripods. Black Sand Beach, or the traditional, there's a lot of black sand beaches, but the one that you've probably seen with the basalt columns, that one's very, very good for sunrise. And it starts your day nice and early, so you can move back through the waterfalls. As they start to get more busy, you're going in the opposite direction. Now moving back towards Reykjavik, so we're basically touring down the south coast. As we're moving back, there are a few other stops along the way. I'll talk about kind of the bigger ones. So there's this hilltop one that is amazing. I would recommend checking that out, and the drive in and out of it, I would say, is maybe the most remarkable part of it. And if you are gonna park your car, you're gonna stop your car somewhere, please don't park it in the middle of the road. Find a spot that you can pull off properly, and also be very aware of traffic because other people are driving around looking at stuff. And also all the cars, the road here there's a lot of small gravel on it. If you're standing near the road watching a car go by, there's a pretty good chance that a little tiny piece of gravel is gonna come flying your way. So give cars some space if you are going to stop along the side of the road. Next up, we get to Skogafas. Skogafas is probably, I would say, the most famous waterfall that I'm sure you're familiar with. There's main Skogafas, and there's kind of this, it's not a secret at all, but there's a smaller waterfall off to the right-hand side that is amazing. It's also going to be a heck of a lot less busy. You run into a bit of a time issue here. So Skogafas, at least most of the year, if you're there in the early morning, there's probably not gonna be light on Skogafas itself. Unfortunately, I think it is more of an afternoon or an evening time location. So if you are able to work that into your schedule, it's awesome. Or if you're staying in Vik and you get some northern lights, Skogafas might be a good stop because you are pointed roughly north when you are facing the waterfall. But I would say in terms of the weather, it's pretty rare to get a beautiful sunny day all day. There's usually some clouds, or it's usually, we've been here 7 days, and I feel like every day has just been cloudy, so it's made the light maybe a little bit boring, but a little bit easier to use in photography. Now coming back, if you are here in the summer months, the puffin months, actually any time of the year, I would recommend Westman Islands. If you do have a day, you don't have to stay the night on Westman Islands. There's a ferry, you can take your car, or you can just get on it as a human. There's a lot in the Bay Area where you arrive. There's also scooters if you want to go on a scooter tour, or you can hire someone to drive have you out. There is a puffin lookout at the other side. So puffin season, I would say, is kind of May to maybe not the end of August, maybe the middle of August, even in September sometimes, but typically the puffin season is that May until the middle of August. And Westman Islands, I believe, is the largest colony for puffins anywhere in the world. So if you do want to see puffins, it's very easy. You walk up to a deck and there's just puffins there for you, which is amazing. Westman Islands is also just a really nice, if it is a nice day for a boat, maybe that's something else to be considered. If it's a crazy windy day and there's whitecaps, you're probably not going to want to go out on that ferry. But if it's a very nice day, it's kind of a nice excuse for a boat ride, and going into the harbor there is an amazing experience. Continuing down, you're going to see this waterfall. This is the waterfall that you can actually go behind. So there is a lot of great photographs from a very, very wide angle lens, something like a 14mm lens. We were very fortunate. This is actually in June during the midnight sun. So that is really cool. Being here in June is a little disorienting because it's this level of light all day. So you go to sleep in this light, you wake up, and maybe if it's sunny, it's even brighter. But the cool thing is that you kind of get golden hour from maybe 11 o'clock at night until 4 or 5 in the morning. So the sun basically just hits the horizon and just moves across, which is really, really nice for photography. And the other benefit of being at all those locations in the middle of the night is that there's just not a lot of people around. So for your photos, you're not scrubbing people out of every single frame. That maybe there's a couple other photographers that are silly enough to be out there at 2 in the morning to shoot this waterfall. Moving back, I would recommend check. There's been some volcano activity going on. A volcano field that's kind of opened up after many thousands of years. It was a little unexpected, I think. Highway 427 that goes through the south is really, really nice. It's cool because every 10 minutes, it feels like everything changes and you're in a completely different environment, that it's all mossy hills and then all of a sudden it's just volcanic lava. Then you're in some mountains and it's really, really fun. Up Highway 42, there is also some amazing spots. So we use this one on workshops where the couple can actually get up on top of this platform. This is a really, really cool drive around here. So I think it is worth the detour. And there's also a black church on this road as well, which I think is as nice as the black church that you've probably seen in lots of pictures. There's lots of black churches around the country, but it's nice because no one really visits this one. Along the route into Grindavik, you are going to see a lot of this logo. And this logo basically means that it's some sort of attraction, some sort of natural thing going on that you can go and check out. It's kind of fun just to go down those paths with no expectations of what's down there. But if you are on a timeline like we usually are, I would recommend that you pick a few of them that you know you're going to want to visit and let yourself get a little distracted, but not too distracted so it takes up an entire day. Now, there's kind of 2 sections of this tour that I would recommend. The one section is that southern route that I think is really, really nice. There's lots of good stops along the way. The other section that I would say to spend some time in is a place called Snæfellsnes, and it is right here on a map. If you do have a week, I would say probably do 3 or 4 days in that southern route and then maybe 2 or 3 days in Snæfellsnes. Now the last day is usually the day that we spend some time in Reykjavik and do some shopping, whether it's for some sort of wool sweater. You can also, again, these are my recommendations. You can do this on the first day if you want. I think spending a little bit of time there is nice, but it really is just kind of like a city. So if you're spending 7 days there and you're trying to explore every single day from there, it's just not the best. I would recommend absolutely finding an Airbnb in the middle of nowhere. Make sure it's near something and that also your car is capable of getting there. If it's along the main road, you're probably going to be fine. Cell service in this country is amazing along and pretty much anywhere actually. Even if you're on a hike in the middle of nowhere, you're probably going to notice that you still have full bars of cell. And I think they built that probably for search and rescue, but also it's just really, really nice to have. The roads themselves are also incredible for driving. If you are from North America, Iceland drives on the same side of the road as you, so it's very easy. And overall, the traffic is, Reykjavik's a little congested, but outside of that, it's a very, very calm driving environment. One thing to maybe have a look at, if you can't drive a manual transmission vehicle and you're selecting the cheapest rental car, there's a good chance that that's going to be a manual transmission, so just make sure you sort them by automatic so you get a car that's a bit easier to drive. Now, if you do have more time and you want to do the full ring road, I'll put a link to a documentary we did, and that goes to most of the locations that I would recommend if you are able to do that full trip. But I would say most of the time when we're coming here, it is one of these 2 locations that we're spending most of our time. And go have some fun. I feel like most of the fun here is just stopping and going for a walk. That you're gonna go photograph the waterfalls you want to photograph, but a lot of my favorite photos are the in-between moments that I was like, oh, I didn't even know that this would be a shot out here, and you get it home and you're like, that's like one of my favorite photos of the trip. And I think that Iceland itself is just it's a bit of a slot machine for photography, that sometimes you're gonna come here, you're gonna get beautiful days, sometimes you're gonna come here, you're gonna get mist everywhere, and it's gonna be a totally different vibe. And I think that's what I really like about Iceland, as well as it's just easy to come to and easy to get around. So if you have chosen to come to Iceland and you made it this far in the video, I think you're gonna have a very, very lovely time. And try not to overthink your gear situation and bring every lens you could ever possibly think of. You're gonna, at least when you're hiking, you're gonna be very happy that you brought a more minimal kit. I feel like my first couple trips I brought way too many things, and I've learned since then. So yeah, simplify as much as you can and come with a plan, but not with an hour by hour, minute by minute plan. And be open to wherever the good light is. I feel like that's also a lot of the photography here, that sometimes you're gonna get some really, really cool contrasty light in a location that it wasn't a location that was anywhere on your map. It's not something that you're gonna see on Instagram, but photos in that 10-minute stretch there are just gonna look really, really darn nice. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and thank you to PGYTech for sponsoring this video. If you are interested in checking out their new backpacks, there is a link down below to get your own. Enjoy Iceland. I'm Toe Jackson. I'll see you next time.